Hi everyone, welcome to the Numerology and the Astrology for July 24th, 2020. If you add all those numbers together, you get the number 17, and if you add the 1 and the 7 together, you get the number 8. The number 8 is the number of grief, loss, and sadness. It is the number of prana and breath. And when we're very, very sad, we have a tendency to not breathe. We have a tendency to hold our breath. We think that if we don't breathe, then it'll just go away, or we won't do the wrong thing, or we won't act out. So we start to tighten up on ourselves and we hold really, really tightly. As you can see in the world right now, there's a lot of sadness, and there's a lot of tightness, and there's a lot of holding, and there's a lot of people getting really, really angry because when you are really, really sad and when you are really despondent as a primary emotion, most people don't like to feel that sadness because it's very depressing, and so they have a tendency to turn it into anger. So they turn it into a more aggressive form because anger feels like I'm going to do something, that I'm proactive. So I always say that we have a primary emotion and we have a secondary emotion. The primary emotion today is sadness. The secondary emotion is going to be anger. And you can actually tell how hurt somebody is by how much they are lashing out. And that's not to condone their bad behavior, but it's a way to acknowledge the pain that the person is in. And sometimes if someone is really angry and I acknowledge the pain that they're in and the hurt that they're feeling, it can diffuse the anger a little bit because it kind of pulls the energy down into something that's more real, rather than heat likes to rise and anger likes to rise up, and it likes to kind of come up and jump the gap and jump the heart and lash out. And so when you're sad, it's sort of like it's heart chakra because it's lung meridian. And so you're kind of like bypassing your heart if you suppress what you're feeling on a sadness level. And this is one of those days. It's, I know everybody is so exhausted by this. I'm exhausted by this. I think everybody wishes this would just end this insanity, but it's not. And so we have to pace ourselves. The number 8 is going to bring up a lot of prolific sadness. And if you look at the news in any way, it's probably going to make it worse. So I'm sure everybody is asking the question, like, what has our world come to? It is a frightening thing to consider. And while it seems to not have any intention of slowing down or stopping, it becomes important as to what you do next. Know that your choices and actions will reflect a pattern of either karmic progression or karmic traps. It is important to notice that if you are creating more suffering in your life for yourself and others, or less, always go for less. The karmic load some are creating at this time is going to break the backs of those same people for lifetimes to come. And I literally every day in my meditation, I send a prayer out to all of those caught in the delusions of karma, the delusions of Maya, and may their journey back to self be swift and illuminating. The astrology today is actually fairly simple and straightforward. It's not that complicated, but I warned everybody that all the planets are basically going retrograde over the summer, and then we've had these eclipses that are really intense. So it's really been putting a lot of pressure. It's like, go forward, stop. Death, change, new beginning, stop. We don't have the momentum. No, not yet. Push forward, stop. I mean, it's just been really frustrating. But the moon continues to stimulate your intelligence and cognitive function because it starts out the day in Virgo. So you have to learn to analyze before you actualize. Otherwise, you are just reacting rather than responding. And then the moon in the evening goes into the gracious sign of Libra. And while I'm sure you're noticing the tenuous balance that is elusive and hard to maintain, we are still aiming for trying to find some sort of balance. Most of the day, you have to manage your state emotionally and physically. You will need help in moments as the facts of what is happening are intended to overwhelm your psyche. It is hard to imagine that you're living in this reality. My suggestion is to focus on essential tasks and fortify the things that your family will need in the near future. While some semblance of order is scarce, it is still good to try. Moderation seems to be going out the window, and extremes are going to be the norm going forward. I know you don't like that, but this is just the way it's going. You might think that I'm being an alarmist, but remember, I warned everybody about this moment in 2017, and I've been warning about it all the way through the predictions of 2020. And this cycle astrologically is in the US chart, and it's in the global chart. And as long as atrocities continue against their country's own people, then those people will continue to fight for their rights. So, my quote for today. You have to learn to analyze before you actualize. Otherwise, you are just reacting rather than responding. My blog for today. As we move towards August, I am reminding everyone that the aggressive tendencies and radical reactive choices will continue and not remotely diminish for the rest of the year. The big culprit is Mars hanging out for almost 6 months in the God of War sign Aries into January of 2021. I know that that's hard to listen to, but you're going to need a strategy to deal with the violence that is coming. And I'm not joking. I have been warning about this for over 3 years. There is a reason all this is happening, and that is the past complacency that had become literally a habit is now breaking, and people are really upset, angry, and ready to blow. It's sort of like people took it and took it and took it and took it and stuffed it and stuffed it and stuffed it and stuffed it, and now all of a sudden the inside is too full and it's shattering, it's breaking. So stay calm if you can. Help others in any way possible. In the past, we had the feeling that if it is not happening to us, then we could ignore it. But now you are not going to be able to ignore it because you are being threatened. Freedom is being threatened. Safety is being threatened. Sanity is being threatened. Your financial security is being threatened. Your voice is not being heard, and you are exhausted, having more than your fair share responsibility on your shoulders. You are being targeted in ways that you may not completely understand, and things you are saying are being tracked. Things are so far beyond the normal that normal people are going to be hurt and attacked. What I know about Americans is that when we are threatened and attacked unlawfully, Americans will stand their ground and fight back. Those that are being asked to put on those camo gear and attack peacefully protesting Americans are going to have the guilt begin to eat them alive. That creates a further tear in the fabric of the government, because I believe that many of those in that camo gear are very good people being told what to do by a leader that has no conscience or moral fiber in his being. Eventually, that will break them, and they absolutely will know that history will not be kind to them or their actions. They hope they can be invisible underneath all that gear, but they will be known and outed, because that is how this astrology is rolling. The truth will come out. I know I could not live with myself if I was in their position. I would join the protesters and entice my friends to do the same. I know I would rather die fighting for the freedoms that our Constitution promised everyone than just turn a blind eye to the suffering that this fake and destructive reality is causing so many. And shortly, many will make a choice. Thanks, everybody. Bye.